USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight. This week in the Spotlight, Dartmouth head coach Bob Gaudet. He achieved a milestone last weekend as his team beat Quinnipiac 5-1. It was the 400th career win in a head coaching career spanning 22 seasons at his alma mater, Dartmouth, and 9 seasons before that at Brown.
Congratulations on number 400, Bob. And to knock off a team that was previously undefeated, that isn't the worst way to get number 400.
Yeah, honestly, it's not something that I really thought much about. It was mentioned to me afterwards, so it was actually kind of neat. And but it was a good game. Our guys bounced back really well from the night before. It got away from us against Princeton. We were kind of chasing the game in the second period. We took a couple unfortunate penalties that we need to get better at. And Princeton's a heck of a good team, and they capitalized. And but I was really pleased with the way the guys came back the next night and really played well against an excellent Quinnipiac team that was undefeated. So to come out and have a lot of jump and get a lead was huge for us, and it was a really, really good W. And the rest of it, I guess it just shows that I'm an old guy when you when you have a milestone like that. I've been around a while, so I guess it's bound to happen. But I have to thank so many great players that have played on teams that I've coached, and great coaches and people involved. So I'm a small part of it.
Well, interesting looking at your season thus far, obviously an Ivy League school, so you're only actually 3 games into the season, but 3 very different types of games. A crazy back and forth 7-6 overtime win over Harvard to open the season. Then, as you mentioned, a 7-1 loss to Princeton, a 5-1 win against Quinnipiac. It does feel like there's almost some reckoning going on to try to figure out what the on ice strategy and identity is. But you'll take the wins, obviously. But what do you like? What do you really, really want to see this team work on in the next few weeks?
Well, we had a really good game against Harvard. It was a fun game. As a coach, you have a few more gray hairs and a few more probably fell out in a 7-6 game. But Teddy Donato does a real nice job with the team, and they had a great power play, and they were zipping it around really, really well. And we struggled with that. And I think it's not that our team's undisciplined. We have to do a better job with penalties. We took very few against Quinnipiac, but it's a new standard in terms of stick fouls, And so they were penalties I think we're just getting used to. So that really hurt us against Harvard, but I thought we were really resilient. We were down a couple of goals twice in that game and ended up 6-6 in regulation and scored in the first shift. We have a really good line of Graber, Foreman, and Seller, and they started the overtime and scored 18 seconds in on a great play to win the game. So that was a big one for us. Again, the Princeton game, I give them credit. They were just super. Ron Fogarty is an excellent coach, and they're the defending champions in our league. And we were chasing the game most of the night. It wasn't quite indicative of the score, I don't think. I thought we were a little bit better than that, but they were better than we were. And then the next night we played very, very well. So I think the penalty killing and our inability to stay out of the box has hurt us, but we got lots better against Quinnipiac. So you mentioned it's early for us, and we are trying to develop an identity, and we're trying to get see what combinations work for us, but we're getting there. We were a much better team this Saturday against Quinnipiac than I believe we were against Harvard the Saturday before. So it's a great group of kids. I love working with them. They keep me young, and it's been fun. I think we've got a lot of potential here.
You mentioned your top line, Will Graber, Quinn Foreman, and Shane Seller. Obviously, they've hit the score sheet, all of them with goals, Foreman and Seller with 2 each. But I see Drew O'Connor with 2 goals, and then a bunch of other guys with goals. I mean, at this point, you're only 3 games in. You've had 10 different goal scorers. I think as a coach, we're in New England, you and I, and we hear a lot about the Bruins, and boy, it's only their top line producer. Sure. But you've got a lot of guys that are producing and scoring goals. That's got to be good news too.
It's really good news because I think our strength is our depth, especially up front. And you mentioned, our big line, but then a young guy like Drew O'Connor's had a couple of really nice goals. One against Harvard and a big goal against Quinnipiac also. And then Jeff Lasordo, another freshman, has scored. Carl Hessler, one of our senior players, has scored. Matt Baker. And you go right down the list. It's a pretty deep group. Colin Rutherford is a skill guy, plays in our power play, does a real good job for us on the wing or at center. But we're deep, I think, in numbers, really good competition for our spots in the lineup, and pretty strong right down the middle between, with Graber, Carl Hessler, older guys, Matty Baker, a younger guy, and Kevin Kalistoff, our senior captain or 2-year captain. We're pretty strong down the middle. So I think that helps us, I hope, as we go along, to be more solid in our end. I like the depth. And then on the blue line, we've got some really good, solid players. Connor Yao is chipping in offensively. Harrison Markell, a rookie defenseman, has done a really, really good job. And I think Cameron Roth, who's a senior, people don't know too much about him, but he's been very, very solid back there on the blue line. So I like that. I like the group, actually. It's coming together.
We're speaking with Dartmouth head coach Bob Gaudet. When we've had the opportunity to talk with veteran coaches, we've liked to explore how the game has evolved, how it's changed. Going back to the late 80s, coming in your late 20s as a head coach at Brown, how has your job as a head coach evolved during this time? And how have you seen the game of college hockey change?
Well, I was like you said, I was in my 20s, late 20s when I started, and I wasn't that much older than some of the players. And I got a young, early start, and I thank Brown University for giving me that opportunity as a head coach. And, I had a lot of energy, not that I don't now, but I thought more was better, more practice, more time. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's really about quality practices. It doesn't have to be long. We have to get up and go. We have to really play at a pace in practice and really execute well. So we've cut back in a lot of things we do. And the science of what we do nowadays is really incredible. And it wasn't there. It was all eyeball analytics when I started. And now it's actual science. So our kids have little trackers that they wear in the back of their shoulder pads that show how much stress they're under physically during a game or during a practice. So we actually tailor-make practices to pace ourselves to actually, our early week practices are really hard. We have some recovery time, and then we get less and less. And seems like common sense, but it's amazing when you have some science involved in it, how much more it helps. And of course, the nutrition and the way these kids stay in shape nowadays, that's really changed over the course of time. These guys don't get out of shape. So it's pretty amazing in a lot of ways. And obviously the pace of the game is really, really quick. And I look out there sometimes, honestly, and I wonder if I ever played this game. And I was a college goaltender, and the pace of it is just frenetic. To be able to stay up with that, and I've been blessed with really good players and really good coaches, who have a kind of a growth mindset. So we've been able to adapt over the course of time, but there's been many, many changes. Even the gear, as I look back when I started, it's changed so much. Everything's so lighter now, and we played with wooden sticks back when I started coaching even, and now they're all composite and. Who would have thought the way the game's evolved? It's a really, really fast game, but it's been fun to be around, and I've been really blessed, honestly. I've coached both of my sons in college. And Joey and Jimmy both played at Dartmouth, and my daughter Kelly went to Dartmouth, and I met my wife at Dartmouth. So I've been blessed in this game. It's been pretty good.
This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from US College Hockey Online.
You mentioned goaltending. I did want to ask you about that because I remember talking to a former Division I head coach who had been a goaltender and around the same era as you. How about that position? That must seem like night and day.
Oh, it's incredible. From when I played, honestly, it's just night and day. And these kids are trained so well, and they're so athletic. I think we had a lot of athletic guys when I played too. But when you look at the silhouette of a goaltender back in my day and look at them today, it's just incredible. We just didn't have that. The gear that we had didn't cover a lot of net. And so that's what I use for an excuse for my goals against average anyway. And the puck hurt, honestly, when I played. It could hit you in the middle of your shin with the big leg pads on. It would bruise you. And God forbid you ever get hit in the head with those fiberglass masks. Your ears would ring for 5 minutes, and it hurt. But it happens every day in practice now, and it doesn't even bother the guys. So I think the gear, especially, and the training, specifically for our goaltenders, has been incredible over the course of time.
We are talking with Dartmouth head coach Bob Gaudet. And Bob, I had never really spent a lot of time around Hanover, New Hampshire, and the Dartmouth campus. And you mentioned you so much of your life revolves around it. You met your wife there, et cetera. I got up there a couple of years ago for your holiday tournament and really was enamored with the little community around you there. It's so tight, compact. There's so much right around that campus, but they seem to love their sports up there, whether it's hockey, basketball, every small sport even gets some support. Talk to me a little bit about what Dartmouth is like.
Oh, it's just a fantastic place. And I came out of Saugus High School in Massachusetts and came up to Dartmouth right out of high school. So I was really fortunate to get in, honestly, and how it changed my life. But it's just a beautiful setting. A small school, only, slightly over 4,000 students, but 36 intercollegiate sports. So about a quarter of the student body are intercollegiate athletes. So there are a lot of sports, and there's a lot of interest in sports. And we have a fabulous rink. If you've ever seen Thompson Arena, was built back in the mid-'70s, and it's a classic facility. I mean, people walk in there and swear that it was, 10 or 20 years old. It's just, it's really well kept, and just a really, really nice facility to play in. Big ice surface, plenty of room behind the nets, great seating, and we draw really well. For a small community like this, to have a 3,500-seat arena when your school is just slightly bigger than that is pretty incredible, and we draw really well. So in northern New England here, hockey's a big sport, and we're lucky we don't have a pro team very close by, so it's the thing to do. And little kids in the community come up and they idolize our players, and I think they're great role models, But the school itself is picturesque. It's small. I was fortunate to go here, and my whole family has gone to Dartmouth, so it's really changed my life. So I owe this place an awful lot.
You have to explain to me one thing. I saw the video from the Princeton game, the tennis balls going on the ice. Where does that tradition come from?
Oh, I've tried so hard to get rid of it. I had nothing to do with it, honestly. I'm not throwing up my hands, but evidently years ago, and I think I was coaching at Brown at the time, so it must have been in the late 80s, early 90s or something like that. Evidently something happened at Princeton and somebody threw oranges on the ice, and Dartmouth, maybe the next year, had tennis balls, and the tennis balls have stuck, and it's just, it's kind of a crazy thing, So when we're lucky enough to score a goal against them, people flood the ice with tennis balls, and it takes a while to clean them up. It's just like one of those momentum killers, And I guess it's neat to see once in a while, but honestly, I'd like to change the tradition and maybe have it help somebody in some way, whether it goes to charity or people have to buy something to do that, I would to throw on the ice. And I don't know. It's one of those traditions that I've tried to get rid of. I haven't been successful.
Well, it probably gets more
difficult. You can imagine what.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what's happened is sometimes when we played them, they're a really good team, obviously. But if you score multiple goals and something happens, we've been good the last couple of years where people haven't thrown more tennis balls. But in years past, we've actually started after scoring the second or third goal in the box for delay of game, which is only fair. So I'm trying to do my best to curb it a little bit.
That might be difficult in the age of social media and YouTube, because those videos probably get around a little faster these days. But Bob, this weekend you're going to head on the road for the first time, first ECAC road weekend. Brown on Friday night, Yale on Saturday night. Two, from what I've seen of them, seemingly pretty different teams in terms of how they approach the game. What are some of the challenges each of those teams present?
Well, they're both tough places to play. And Brown, the coach there, Brendan Whitted, is a good friend of mine, and the guy that played for me at Brown, actually. I recruited him there and actually coached with me at Dartmouth for 11 years, so I know him very well. They're a really quick, aggressive team, and I think they're playing really good hockey right now. And it hasn't shown in the results at this point, but they're going to be a very good team, and he's a good coach. And me and Auditorium is a tough place to play. And then we go to Yale, and Keith Elaine obviously has done a wonderful job at Yale over the course of time, and his teams are always fast and skilled. And it's a tough place to play. Ingles is a nice rink, and we enjoy the traditions in our league or in college hockey in general, but specifically in our league are just great. And these are teams that have played for a long, long time, probably since, we started in 1905. I think Yale was around the same time, and so was Brown. So it's there's a long tradition, long storied history, and the game is a lot of fun. They'll be action packed, I'm sure.
Well, Bob Gaudet, it is 400 wins in the book for you now. I'm sure that even it may not have set in, but it's something that you should relish in. And congratulations on that. And obviously, you've got a lot left of the season. Best of luck the rest of the way. And hopefully maybe we can check in with you a little later in the year.
Thanks a lot, Jim and Ed. I appreciate you having me on, and for all you do for college hockey. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That's Dartmouth head coach Bob Gaudet. I love the tradition of the Ivies in the ECAC. And he's talking about that arena going back to the 70s, and you think about playing Brown on one night and Yale on another night. That, to me, brings back kind of the nostalgia, if you will, of East Coast hockey.
It really does. Whereas I think Hockey East has kind of moved really toward the modernization of East Coast college hockey. You go back, this feels like the old ECAC of the, 70s, the 60s, even the early 80s. That, you walk into a building like Thompson Arena and you look around, there's so much history on the walls there. Eddie Jeremiah, the longtime head coach, who, by the way, Bob Gaudet is one win away from tying his school record for career wins. But there's just so much in a building like Thompson, and then those other buildings around the league. Ingles Rink, the Yale Whale is iconic. Hobie Baker Rink down at Princeton. All those buildings, Lina, out at Cornell. I love some of those old buildings. The Ivies in particular, they really bring that strong tradition, but it is something special. It's something that a lot of people, if you haven't gone to some of those buildings, maybe you miss out on. And my favorite, Appleton up at St. Lawrence, my favorite ECAC barn. Well, that'll do it for USCHO Spotlight. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of US College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.